All right, you guys find your seats. You guys ready to get going today? I'm so glad you guys are here. Happy anniversary again, man. It's been a wild 10 years. It's been so good. I can't believe that when I just think about it, just all that God has done over the past 10 years since we started in the Lincoln Teen Center. Just what God has done in our midst and what He's done in the life of our church has truly been something just to stop and to just reflect on for a little bit. You know, like, listen, we're all about moving forward. We're all about like what God is going to do for the future. He has a wonderful future and a plan, but I think it's very important to stop from time to time, just take a look back. And I think not only just for the sake of just like the sentiment of it, but listen, when you see how faithful God has been in the past, it gives you faith for the future. Say, man, he's been faithful to us, and He's going to keep being faithful because God never changes. Amen. So I think it's really important to do that. And listen, so much has changed. Obviously, you've seen the slideshow that we had. So much has changed over the years, and that's a good thing. You know that healthy things grow, and growing things change. If you're growing, you should be changing. Change is a good thing. So we've changed a lot, but honestly, I mean, think about it. Like we're in multiple services now. We've moved locations. We've done a lot. I feel like a lot of changing. But at the same time, you know, the heart and the vision of our church has never changed from the beginning. That's one thing that hasn't changed. And we're thankful for that. And I don't care like what point you came in on the journey. This may be your first Sunday, and this is going to look a little bit different, by the way. We don't do this every Sunday. But 10 years is a big milestone that we want to celebrate. But if this is your first Sunday, we're so glad that you're here. But I don't care if you came, you know, if you're, who was here in the Teen Center days? Let me see your hands if you're here. Okay, yeah, good handful of you guys. So whether you came, during the Teen Center days, or maybe you came to our Cordell campus, or maybe you just started recently coming, we're just so glad that you're a part of the story. And God is really, we're standing in a move of God. You know, and a lot of times it may not seem that way, but we are. We're standing in a move of God. I'm so thankful to be a part of it. And, God's writing a story here, but He's also writing a story in your personal life. And I want to say this before we get going. I think that a lot of times we don't recognize or we don't realize what God is doing. But when you connect to a church, you connect to a greater purpose. You connect to a greater work that God is doing. Your individual story is linked to God's overall story that He's writing for the church. Right? It was the same way with Israel. Look at the Old Testament. Israel had a plan and a purpose. He was doing something with those people. But if you look throughout the Old Testament, there's individual story after individual story of Moses and Abraham and Noah and God's faithfulness to them. And so, listen, there's a bunch of individual stories kind of wrapped up into this overall thing, and the story that God is writing. So He was doing it with Israel, and now He's doing it with the church. So you become a part of something much bigger than yourself, honestly. And I think it's important to tell the stories, to tell the stories. I want to read a scripture to you that God dropped in my heart. Deuteronomy 4:9 says, be careful. This is God. Be careful and watch yourselves closely so that you do not forget the things your eyes have seen or let them fade from your heart as long as you live. Teach them to your children and to their children after them. This is important. It says, listen, do not forget the things that your eyes have seen. Don't let them fade from your hearts. And you know why God reminded them of that? Because they had seen God do some incredible things in their midst. I'm talking, these people saw the Red Sea parted. They saw miracle after miracle. God hand-delivered them out of slavery. Come on, somebody. And He said, you better never forget this. And you need to remember these things. And what did He tell them to do? How do we keep those things from fading from our hearts? Because they do easily. Tell the stories. Tell the stories. Tell them to your kids, and then make sure that your kids tell their kids about what God has done in our midst. And listen, God has done so much just to let those things fade from our hearts. So I've got some stories. We got some stories that we're going to tell you guys today. Everybody that's on this stage is just so special to me, and I'm so thankful for you guys and the part that you guys have played in the story, no matter what point you came in. But honestly, you guys get to hear me every week, so we're going to hear from them today, and they're just going to kind of share a little bit about how they came to the church and their story and whatever God's put on their heart. So you guys ready for that? Yeah. Okay, who's first? Susan wants to go first. She was chomping at the bit. She's like, can I go first? I can't wait to talk. So yes, Susan, yeah, go ahead. You can do it. Go ahead.
If you know me, you know that is not right. I am a behind-the-scenes person, and I like it like that. But my name is Susan Suter, and my family and I have attended the Way. It's been 8.5 years, I think. And just let me give you a little history here. I grew up in church, but there was a season just after moving out on my own that I kind of fell off, stopped going. I worked a weekend job in the medical field, so Sundays weren't really an option at that time. And after I left that job, I just didn't want to make church a priority. So I just made excuses. You know, I wanted to sleep in, I wanted to do my own thing. And I never really recognized at the time that that was all lies, you know, from the enemy. But I, I would just, I was like, I'm a Christian. I don't have to go to church. I'm already saved. I didn't understand the importance of a church family, and really until some friends of ours, they lost their child, and watching that family walk through that just amazed me, the faith that that family had. And I had a family at that time. We had 2 girls then, and it woke me up, and it showed me that, like, I need to be in church for myself, but also for my kids. And so we had a few people invite us to the Way. We knew absolutely nothing about the Way at all, but we did have some friends that attended there, so we decided to check it out. And the first Sunday, I really don't remember all details, but I know I was nervous. I mean, just like most people are nervous when they try something for the first time. And but as soon as we walked in the door, we just were greeted with open arms, and it was just so warm, a warm, fuzzy feeling. And after that, we were hooked. So a little different with video worship. That part took some time to get used to, but it just wasn't what I was accustomed to. Not bad, just different. But it was so good. And then I wanted to share just a big way that God has worked in my life since coming to the Way. In 2014, the building construction here was almost finished, and the only thing really left to do was a lot of painting. So I like to paint, and at the time I was a stay-at-home mom. Megan was in full-time school, but Kinley was in preschool, and so I had just some free time, and I decided to volunteer to come up here and paint, and I'm known as the painter. Thankfully, there's some more of us now. But through that season of my life, Tyrell's job had really slowed down, and I had been praying for just God to lead us into what that looked like for us, maybe me trying to find a job. And I was up here painting and fixing to leave, and Pastor Kyle approached me about a position as the admin assistant here, which is AKA the secretary. And I knew immediately that that was God answering my prayer. And honestly, I've been on staff for 6 years. I can't even put into words like the blessing that that's been in my life and in my family's life. And one thing I just wanted to say was my favorite part about our church is just that we're a big family. It's crazy, like, I guess that 8 to 10 year span that I was kind of out of church. Like, it's just crazy that I never knew, I never realized that growing up, that we're just a big family. And if you don't feel like that, I encourage you just to get involved, because it'll change your heart. So, anyways, I know that the best is yet to come.
Okay, well, my name is Pauline Gregg. Some of y'all might know me that I'm Jesse's mom and Jenny's mother-in-law. My story is a little different. I was actually here before y'all came here. So, but my story actually began before that, before the way started. I was in a bad place, a very bad place. And I got there from bad decisions, choosing to go with the wrong people, just all these bad choices that I had. And I grew up thinking they were my choices. I was stuck. And that's what I get for making these bad choices. Then I heard a message. It was Joyce Meyer. It said that God isn't just my God. God is my Father. And he didn't want me where I was. So I used to pray, I'm sorry. I was a horrible person today. I did it again. I screwed up. But after I heard that, and after I started reading the Bible myself, I realized I didn't have to stay where I was. He didn't want me there. And why is this so loud? So I changed my prayers. I started speaking His word over myself. I was stuck here, miles away from my family, because of some of the choices I made. My prayers changed from God help me to Father, I need help. And when I gave complete control over, I got out of that hole in a week. I'm so thankful for it. For Kyle and Randy. Because they grew the family I didn't know I needed. You got to stop believing the lies. Everybody does. Once I got past that, I was good. I am good. I am good now. I am. It was hard. I'm not going to say it was easy. Raising teenage boys on my own. 2 full-time jobs. And because I had 2 full-time jobs, I didn't qualify for any kind of help. I didn't care. I was out of that hole and I wasn't going back. I also had to change friends. That was hard. And now I run into those people, it's like I remember where I was. I'm so thankful for where I'm at now. Thanks.
It's my turn. Okay. Well, I want to first say thank you to our pastors because, man, we love y'all so much. I want to start off. I was up here scrolling, trying to find this. This is like one of my mottos that I kind of go off. Can everybody hear me? Because I don't want to do this. I kind of just, I send this to everybody, and I just go off of this. Sometimes the smallest step in the right direction ends up being the biggest step of your life. Tiptoe if you must, but take the step. And that's just, I love that because I took the step. And I'm so thankful that I did take the step. Let me get back to my other notes. Anyways, I'm Princess Martin. Introduce myself. I have been coming to the Way for about 4 years now. My lovely kids out there, my daughters. So just raising 4 daughters, they can just tell you that you need a lot of strength. I don't know how my mom did it, but she did it. So, and that's my mom. Like my mom, she came. I invited her to church in 2018 to Mother's Day, and she started coming, and she has not. Just to be able to see how God is moving in her and transforming her heart, and her being able to come to church with me and just worship beside me, it's just a lovely feeling. So, I just want to tell my story about how I was drawn into the Way Church. I love this story. My niece came to Embrace Grace here, and she invited me to her baby shower. So I had came to the baby shower that day, and the time I came through the door, Jenny was one of the first people that just kind of welcomed me in, and she started showing me around the church and giving me a tour and telling me how, they would love for me to come back. And everybody was just so friendly, so nice. I kind of just felt like, man, I wanted to give this a try. So came back that next Sunday, and I have not stopped coming since. So, let's see. Let me lose my notes. My first Sunday here, it was like everybody. It's very welcoming, friendly people. I didn't feel anything but being just welcome. That's what I felt when I came here. But my first Sunday being here, the Holy Spirit was stirring up feelings in my heart, like feelings that I had never felt before. And I just knew that I wanted more of those feelings. So I just started trying to be involved in any way I could and trying to just surround myself with my church family as much as I could. I just knew that I wanted a relationship with Christ. And I love the fact that the same way that I was drawn into the Way Church is now I get the opportunity now to serve and be a leader of the ministry that brought me in. Now I can be a leader. Yeah. And like I said, I get the opportunity to lead women, and it's transformed me just going through the ministry. It's just as much as it has the women that has been through the ministry. One thing that I can say that God has taught me, He's taught me how to respond. How to respond as a mother, a wife, a leader, and more importantly to life. And just like looking back at my life, I knew that this is what I've been missing my whole life. I've grown in so many different ways that I can't even begin to name them all. Sorry. Just doing what I do on a daily, I get the opportunity to pour into young children, and without coming here and giving my life to Christ and people pouring into me, I don't think I would have been equipped to even do what I do on a daily. I get the opportunity to pour into my workers, to the kids that I come in contact with every day. It's just been life-changing, and for me in that area. Most importantly, God has showed me how to trust Him. Just being able to just give it all to Him and say, I trust you with this, and just having that faith, and faith over fear, basically. It's just, and that's what I chose. What I do love about the Way Church is that we are a life-giving church. It's a church that we love, no matter who you are, what you look like, what your background looks like. It doesn't matter. Like, we still love. So that's one of the biggest things that I love about our church. It's very authentic, and the Way has just been a blessing for me and my family. So thank y'all.
I guess I'll go first. My name is Eric. This is my beautiful wife, Kayla. I've been coming to the Way Church actually since the Teen Center days, 10 years. That's crazy. Wow. I honestly didn't even know how to start. There's just so much that I could talk about. But I'm going to start with a little bit of like background story. So I grew up in the Catholic Church, not just the Catholic Church, but the Catholic Church in Mexico. So I was raised there, and my good friend Sutton invited me to church, to the Way. And I remember coming on youth, my first time at youth. It was so weird seeing people lift up their hands for the first time. It was like, what did I get into? But later on, I understood that it was just a way of worshiping God and just truly surrendering to Him. But that's weird. So I grew up with a really good home, honestly. My parents both were amazing. They're great. My dad has always been there for me, but not at the same time because of work. So to me, to come to church was also a way to experience my church family in a different level, because of work, my dad was gone a lot, and so like he didn't really come to like my games or anything like that. And to have a youth pastor that invested his free time to come and like watch my soccer games, or like just see me grow, really, it made a difference in my life. We went from growing in high school to graduating and to being able to so that was awesome. I love you guys. Thank you for just seeing me grow physically, maturity and spiritually. Thank you for always pulling out the best in me. Even through this, I feel like how we say it here at the Way Church is like, we call it being up in your chili. Thank you for the times that I feel like, the seasons that I feel astray. You guys always push through to try to reach me and pull my potential out. So thank you. And even to this day, just we've gone through some hard seasons, even in our first year of marriage, just having through some tough times, but having the ability to have people there for you. Small groups made a big difference in our lives. We have made lifelong relationships, and couldn't be more thankful than that. And I'm excited to see where we're going next.
I'm Kayla. Like Eric said, I've been coming to the Way for about 6 years, and I remember the first Sunday just walking in and it just feeling like home. Some people say that, but it's so true. Lindsay and Adam invited me, and I was really reluctant to come. I was pretty burnt out on church, and I was like, eh. And Lindsay told me, she's like, if you can just get through like the worship, she's like, it's kind of different. Everybody's talking about that. She's like, but I promise you, she's like, just stick with it. And so just even that first Sunday of just feeling like this sense of home, and just feeling like this is where I needed to be. Didn't want to leave. Until I met Kyle for the first time. Do you remember the first time that we met? Okay. So the first time we ever met, it was my first Sunday. I was walking out the back, and you came up to me, and you were like, "Hey, like, I'm Pastor Kyle. Have you ever been here before?" And I was like, "No." He's like, "So this is your first time?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, did you come alone?" And I was like, "No, I came here with my boyfriend and his girlfriend." And I was like, "No, that's not what I meant. I came here with my girlfriend and her boyfriend. I mean, I came here with my sister and her boyfriend, Adam." I was so nervous, and I just remember walking out and being like, "Dang it, I can't ever come back." How do you cover that? You just smiled, patted my shoulder, and just walked away. No, no, in all seriousness, just the sense of family. I mean, I can't, the way God's moved in the last 6 years, I mean, just my church family, just through every season, from starting here and with Sophia and it just being her and me, and then just every season that we walked through, and even just me going through a divorce, and then me meeting the love of my life. Yeah, we went to the same church for 6 years and 4 years. 4 years, and I never knew you at all. It's crazy. But just like he was saying, just our first year of marriage has not been the easiest. I mean, I know this year's been tough for everybody, just quarantine, and we went through 3 miscarriages, and just, you know, but small groups, having people that we made lifelong connections with. And even when you're in that season where you don't want anybody to like poke the bear, you're like, I just want to be left alone. And having people be like, I love you too much to leave you alone. I just calling up people and just saying, I need you to pray for me, and them just not questioning it. We were talking about this the other night, and we know we could pull up our phone, and anybody in our contact list that goes to this church, we know we could call them, and we could ask them to pray for us, or we could ask them for something, and if they couldn't make it happen, they would know somebody that could, and that's just so rare to have that family atmosphere of just whatever you need them there. So we're just so thankful for you guys. We love you guys. So I think that's it.
It's my turn. My name is Bryson Short. This is my wife, Lindsay. We've been coming here since 5-6 years. It's closer to 6 years.
Yeah, Grandpa's 6 year. I think it's like 5.5.
I think Barrett was. I think she was. Yeah, I think she was still pregnant with Barrett when we started coming. But Jesse Sharp is actually the one that invited me to come here. I didn't necessarily grow up constantly in a church. You know, we would go to this church for 2 or 3 years, and then we're all used to, or all guilty of it, falling off the horse. You know, we'll go over here, we'll go to this church, and Lindsay and I have a history with Randy. We used to work with Randy at Mazio's, and then when we found out that I walk in and, oh my gosh, there's Randy. Hey, babe, we're going to Randy's church. You know, we're the church that Randy goes to. You know, somebody we have something in common with. My favorite part about this church is the family. It is amazing. You look at your friends you may know list on your Facebook. It's amazing how many people come up. Hey, add them. They go to my church. They go to my church. And it gets to a point where that's only people that come up. To show an instance on how God has changed my life. That third row is my whole family. And it got to a point where all that kind of started the Facebook Live. My mom and dad watched it in Colorado. My grandma watched it this morning in Colorado. We have the whole family. Last last Father's Day was when my mom and dad were trying to move down here. My dad moved the camper down here, lived out of there. I was 37, 36. First time that my dad had ever been to church with me without my mom. And it's since then, that whole row has asked God to come into their lives. And then there's my wife. I'll let her tell her story.
So I'm Lindsay. Whoa, that's loud. I'm going to hold it down here because I talk loud anyways. So like he was saying, he was kind of in and out of church growing up. I was always in church, total opposites. Every Sunday, went to church. I knew when we had kids that I was going to want them to do the same. So naturally, I took them to my church that I was attending. He didn't really necessarily care for the church that I went to, and that's okay. But eventually, I brought it to a point to say, I want us all to go somewhere. So if I have to kind of break out of where I'm comfortable so we can all go somewhere. So he kind of church shopped, kind of went a few different places here in Elk City. And then, like he said, he was invited. And I said, absolutely, go ahead. But I'm going to sit back and kind of let you go a few times. Like, show me that you can go and stay with it before I start coming and bringing the boys. He did just that. He came consistently, probably 2 months before I finally said, okay, we'll go with you. We'll give it a shot, see what it's all about. I don't really remember much about the first, but I'm kind of with you, Eric. The worship, that was different for me as well, because I just wasn't used to that from the church that I was in. But I do remember the first day, or the first time we came. It's kind of a common ground from what everybody has said. Just everybody has always been so nice and personable. They include you, make you feel welcome. And I just never really, not that I didn't get that from my other church, but it's just totally different, another level here. So since then, we've been consistently coming, and my kids love it. We love it. We love Kyle and Randy. We're so grateful for you guys. And it has just worked tremendously. God has worked tremendously in our lives, coming as a whole. It's different. It's a whole nother dynamic. I can do as much as I can with my boys, but if we're missing a part of the family, you can only accomplish so much. So our marriage, he's worked in our marriage. He's worked in our kids. Just unbelievable. So glad to call this our home.
Thank you guys so much for sharing, man. That was just incredible just to hear like what God has done. I think so many times, and I've said this the past couple services, but what God does a lot of times flies under the radar. You don't even know it. But God is working in the lives of every single person. And I'm sure that you've got your own stories too. These are just a few of them. But man, I just constantly think, I can't believe that God would let us do this. I can't believe God would let me lead this. And if you know Randy and I on a personal level, you know that there's absolutely nothing special about either one of us. We're about as normal as it gets. And I think that's why God is doing something so significant, because we're just trying to consistently not mess it up. And if we can get ourselves out of the way so that God can do what he does best. So we're just so thankful. Man, you guys pretty much said it all, but I do want to just kind of share a couple thoughts with you from my very first sermon I ever preached at the Way. I want to put it up on the screen for you. That's my first sermon right there. I used to handwrite my sermons, and I have no idea why. Because, they did have computers 10 years ago. But for the first 2 or 3 years, it really helped me remember. I think that's why I did it. But anyways, the title of my first sermon on February 13th, 2011 was Small Beginnings. Small Beginnings. And it was based on Zechariah 4:10 that says, don't despise the day of small beginnings. And we definitely had a small beginning. There was, we started with just a handful of people, 20 people probably, and if you've heard the story, we grew significantly to 4. We grew to 4, which is the wrong direction, okay? But I remember preaching one Sunday. I don't know where you were, because I don't know where you come into the story. You're probably with kids ministry. But I remember preaching to Pauline and my sister and Jesse, preaching to them on a Sunday morning. And then I had my good friend Dustin back here running the computer for me in the back. But I preached, it was really just 3, preached to you 3. And I remember, it's funny to think back on. And it's so cool. You saw the pictures just of how far God has taken us. But in the moment, it's not as fun. You know what I mean? It's really actually pretty difficult. Beginnings are beautiful, but they're difficult.
Yeah, they are difficult. And I think that, you see those pictures and it's like, oh, how cute. But man, we forget sometimes since we have come so far, we kind of forget what those growing pains are like. We still experience growing pains now, but it's a little bit different.